Hello and welcome, everyone. Today, we're going to look at all the features and tools that make up the GrantStation website and also cover any new updates that we've added or are coming soon. Now, my name is Jeremy Smith. I'm GrantStation's Director of Communications Technology, and I host some of our online education offerings. I handle GrantStation's internal and external tech and communications content. And my partners here today, who you may have heard for a second there, is Kerry Glauser. She's our Senior Research Specialist, and Kevin Peters. He's our Vice President of Research. Now, today, Kerry and I are going to provide you with an overview of GrantStation's features, along with a look at how you can find funders on our website. Now, we're going to be going over in detail how to find private, state, national, and international funding opportunities using our databases and our Find Grant Makers section, which you can find right up here at the very top. We'll also explain how to adjust your search terms so you can discover funding opportunities that you never really thought to explore. And we'll also cover how you can use a funder's up-to-date profile along with our decision matrix to vet funders and save time. And also how beginners and pros can benefit from all of our in-depth tutorials that we have in our build strategy and in our write proposals section. So Kevin's here to answer your questions so you can be certain you're finding all the potential funding opportunities for your organization. And the last reminder, we'll be sending out a link to the recording of today's webinar to your registered email on next Wednesday. So be on the lookout for that as well. Now, please feel free to ask any questions by entering them into the Q&A section. Then we'll be able to do our best to track them and answer them throughout the presentation. And if it's a good one that we should really address, Kevin will go ahead and have us address that at the very end of the session. Otherwise, he'll probably answer it during today's session. He has all the answers. So if you have a question, he's the guy to ask. But if towards the end of the session, or maybe you have a question you're not sure you want to share publicly, feel free to email us directly at info@grantstation.com. We can get an answer to you specifically. So before we get into our grant searches and all the different features we have on our website, let me really sort of explain our major sections that we have here. So GrantStation itself features a set of searchable databases filled with current grant opportunities. We also provide tools and tutorials on grant seeking and writing, and we keep you up to date on the latest philanthropic trends. So in short, GrantStation membership helps you find funding so you can build a strong grant seeking program, helps you write powerful proposals, and allows you to win awards to fund your mission. And one thing that differentiates us from other databases is our policy of only listing active funders. That is, funders are only listed if they accept unsolicited applications or letters of inquiry or some other sort of unsolicited communication. Also, your membership includes not only technically advanced tools, but handcrafted funder profiles with the human touch. Now, our research team updates and adds content on a daily basis, so you know that you're only seeing the latest available information. And this way, you know you're getting a hot list of funding sources that have been vetted by our researchers that are actively accepting requests. So think of us as your personal backroom research team. We're pre-screening funders and feeding you the most relevant ones for your specific program or project. Now, we currently do have a sale going on. I'll mention that a little bit later on in today's tour in case you're not currently a member. But while I have you, is this your first time with GrantStation? Just go ahead and give me a yes or no in the chat. And I'm going to have Kerry let me know what the general consensus is. Have you used GrantStation before? Are you familiar with it? Yes or no? So I am familiar. You don't even have to say why, just yes or no is what we're looking for. So Kerry, what's the consensus so far?
I'm seeing a lot of yes. Yeah,
Okay,
I think
excellent.
there's more yes.
That's great. So if you're familiar with GrantStation, then maybe this is just more of a refresher for you, or maybe it's ready for you to take that next step and get a membership. Either way, everything you're going to get today will be beneficial to you and help you decide and show you how to use GrantStation more effectively. Now, right now, we do have our State of Grant Seeking survey going on, and it really spotlights recent developments in funding, and this allows you to be more strategic in your grant seeking. And we have a free report that goes out in May, and right now we're looking for people to go ahead and take this survey. Your data is anonymized and then used as part of the survey so you can see how you stack up compared to other organizations. It lets you see what trends are happening. We have some hardcore data people here who like to dig into these numbers and present a really good look at what's happening in the world of philanthropy. So I really encourage you, if you've got about 10 to 15 minutes, to go ahead and complete this survey. And I think Kevin will go ahead and put that link in the chat if he hasn't already. It's a really easy survey and it helps us out a lot. It's completely free. And at the end results will also be freely mailed to you. So you'll get a copy of all the survey results and you'll know what's been happening in the past year all across the philanthropic industry. There's so many great bits of information in there. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in today's tour as well. We'll talk about our benchmarker tool, which allows you to harness everything from the state of grant seeking directly into your personal dashboard. So with that, let's actually turn to the process of finding funding. How do you go about identifying the best grant makers to approach? As I just mentioned, an important part of your membership, and one we're going to talk about multiple times today, is your custom dashboard. You can actually access that by coming up here to the top, clicking on My Dashboard, and then scrolling down. And we'll just go to Introduction to start with to get into this area. Now, I'm going to give you a quick overview of what's in here, but we're going to come back later to look at each of these features in greater detail. So this is where you can find reports such as the benchmarker tool. That's our way to access all the state of grant seeking data. We also have our R3, which is a really powerful tool to let you visualize where your money is coming from and going to. We also have a place here to save and create projects, how to save search criteria. You can save specific grant makers. You can also create a customized plan and track that data. You can see resources you've saved from our resource searching tool called the Pathfinder, any courses you've purchased, as well as any orders you've made. And of course, changing your username and password can be done right here as well through your dashboard in the My Profile section. So for right now, let's go ahead and take a look at the project section. This will be our first place that we start within. And we'll talk about how to prepare to do your research. We really encourage anyone looking for funding to always do a little bit of preparation just before diving into all that research. Now, our projects tab and all of our various search terms, which I'll show you, will really help you be more effective and efficient in your research. So here from the projects tab, we were in our dashboard, we clicked on projects, and now we see multiple projects here. And I made a couple here that we can use just for samples today. So we've made one for an animal welfare project for this year. So I'm going to go ahead and edit this one and show you what it looks like. When we look at our projects right here, it's good to have that little bit of information, that little bit of research you do beforehand. So here's our scenario. So you can see how I based all of this information I filled out. My project focuses on expanding pet adoption, humane education, spaying, neutering, and animal cruelty interventions. Some of the animals are rehabilitated and trained as emotional support animals for seniors at independent and assisted living centers throughout my community. So right here on the project description, this doesn't have to be fancy. It's really a high level overview of what you're trying to do with your project. And again, all this information is unique just to you, only on your dashboard. No one else sees this. No one else has access to this. Right here under statement of need, this is where you'll be able to identify keywords to guide your research. This is where you'll see what do you need and why do you need it. This is where you can see spaying and neutering. This is where you're going to have an emotional support animal. What's an individual do with a support animal? It aids them with different mental and emotional disabilities or performs specific tasks. This is a really great way to get your thoughts organized and be able to quickly pull out information that'll be useful as you go about and do your grant searches. And then you'll also want to itemize your budget needs. You can do that right here in our budget tab. And this is where you can include brand names if possible. And this can really help you identify different product donations as well. So once this section is complete, the project details section, we can move on to our other sections. And this is where we get into the search terms area. So if I start with a geographic scope right here, our project's working within and throughout, let's say, Pennsylvania. So we go ahead and select North America as well. And then we have USA included as well. So this will pull up all the different funders that give across these areas. And we'll talk more about how our Boolean searches work within our search section. But for now, we choose all the areas we're going to be working within. We're in North America, we're working in the USA, and specifically we're working within Pennsylvania. Moving on to the next one is our actual areas of interest. And this is where we get into specific search terms. Now, occasionally a search term won't yield any practical results. And often that's caused by not having the right search term. Now, our search terms contain descriptions of the key terminology used on our website, and it's the same terminology used by the grant makers themselves. And it really serves as a great guide when you're doing your keyword research. You can actually find all that information right here under our glossary of search terms, which will pop up here. You can actually search through it by entering in your keyword. So put in your term that you use, and then you can match it to this specific funder. Then you know that you're on the same page as that funder. So currently we have quite a few various search terms to search through. Kerry, what's the exact number of search terms that we currently have?
Oh, I don't have an exact number, but I know it's around 230-ish, and that's inclusive of types of support search terms as well.
So there are a lot of various ways to search through our database to find all of our different resources that we have. This is how you can make sure you have that search term that lets you find funding. And again, I'll say it one more time. The most common reason people aren't able to find funding is because you are using a search term that is not commonly in use, or you're getting too narrow in your searches. And we'll talk more about some thoughts around how to do searches a little bit later. But let's for now go back to our project tab. And we went ahead and selected some search terms here. I added environment and animals general. I also added animal welfare, also animal assisted and therapy service dogs, and I even added mental health. And it's important, mental health is because I will be supporting the mental health of the seniors who are visited by the animals. I found that information by writing it in my statement of need. So it's a good idea to do this process. And then you can pull up all these different ideas you weren't thinking of. Looking for funding in places that aren't straightforward is the best way to find sources that can be sustainable and can help you moving forward. So look at your project, look at what you need funding for, and then really start extrapolating from that. Some people call it a bubble diagram. There's different terms to call it, but think of what you need funding for and what are all the components that make it. Do you need a computer? Do you need paper? Do you need, implements to shave animals? Do you need do you need a building? All these different elements go into helping you support a specific project. So you can approach it that way when you're looking for funding. You can break it down into manageable bites to support the project as a whole. So trying to find funding just for left-handed Jeremys who live in Alaska will be difficult. But if my organization is doing outreach in schools and teaching children about native dances from around the state, that's a whole different ballgame at that point. I'm looking for funding to do outreach to children. Maybe it can tie into a STEM type initiative of some sort, maybe a way to save indigenous languages and whatnot. This is a great way to think of what you need funding for and then break it down into various components. And don't get hung up on looking for funding just for one purpose. Look for funding for your project. Something to keep in mind as you do your research. Whether on GrantStation or anywhere, always think of what you need funding for your specific project. You're going to want to think strategically as you go about and do your research, and you want to think about the impact that a specific project will make. And that's where we have animal assisted therapy service dogs and mental health, as I explained. And also right here under target populations, since we are focusing on seniors as well, this is very important. So we go ahead and add them as our specific target population. And then under types of support, which is something that Kerry mentioned earlier, this is where you can really narrow down what you need funding for. I need funding for equipment. I need funding for just general operating support or for product donations or for training programs. This is where you can narrow it all down to what you need funding for. Now, you may be saying, Jeremy, I just want to find grants. Well, great, you can do that. But this process I'm showing you here will allow you to have grants automatically emailed to you when they fit your parameters. So this is a great step to use if you don't want to have to do even more work. Whenever something's added to our databases that fits your areas of interest, that fits your geographic scope, that fits all these specific bits of information you put in here, you will be emailed information about, hey, here's a new grant that matches this project you created. Maybe you should look at it. You'd be the first to know about it. And that's why I recommend going about and creating a project for every every project you're trying to get funding for. Make a project here, and then you'll be alerted immediately when that funding information is available or when there is a change to the current funding information that fits those parameters. And of course, you can always add in specific keywords that fit for your specific need as well. And if we go ahead and discard the changes here, you can also see, go ahead and exit out. We can go ahead and have multiple projects. We can see how they're broken down at a glance. And then we can go ahead and email it to ourselves. We can edit it. We can also edit as a new one. Say the Chinchillas project, we're doing it for 2024. We can edit as new and keeps all the information. And then we can add anything new to it as well. So now that we've identified some relevant search terms, we're ready to really dive in to doing research using all of GrantStation's searchable databases. Now, we always encourage grant seekers to start their research by looking at government funding sources, as these sources can often provide most, if not all, of the funding that you need. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this box and scroll up. And if we go ahead and click on Find Grant Makers, you can see all the different funders we can access. So right now, let's take a look at our U.S. federal section. Actually, no, we're going to take a look at our state section, I think, to begin with. Now, within these various sections we have, you can go ahead and search down to the specific state. So we'll start by clicking on Pennsylvania at this point. And then from here, you'll see all the different types of support that are available. And we have a nice little key over here, whether something's a contract or a grant or a loan or information or miscellaneous support. This is everything that's available on the state level. This is something very unique to GrantStation. You can find state-based funding opportunities. They're broken down into those major categories that we use for our search terms. So we have arts, culture, and humanities, education. Right here is environment and animals. So if we scroll down this list, we can see at a glance, there's nothing that really fits our specific need. We can always save it to our dashboard, and this becomes a resource that we can access later. But looking at this right off the bat, I don't see anything that really fits our specific situation. So now we can go ahead and turn to federal support. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this one, scroll up a bit, and click on US Federal. Now, within this section, you can search through it by eligible applicants, area of interest, funding agencies, adding in a specific keyword, the funding opportunity number, or the CFDA number. This is really a front end to grants.gov. It's a database of all the programs being offered by the US federal government. Now, I did some research earlier, and I'll just show you quickly how this looks. There is really nothing offered on the federal level that provides us with funding for our specific need. We're more focused in a local area, and a lot of federal programs are interested in wide-ranging issues, and nothing really this specific focused is being funded by the federal government at this time. But the way the results pop up, you have the opportunity title, you have the name of the agency offering it, when it was posted, and when that specific opportunity is closing as well. Now, the funding opportunities that are available within the U.S. state and federal government section are important information to collect, because when you apply to private funders, you can say that you've done your federal and state research. And in case you don't find any options like ours, you can say at this time, there are no federal or state programs that can help us with our need. That way, the private funder knows you've done your homework, which really speaks to your credibility as an organization, and that private funding is the only option. And the best part about GrantStation is that you can do this on the fly. It's very quick. Just in the time I've been talking, you could take 5 minutes to go through everything on the US state page and everything in US federal by entering in specific keywords, or even by simply going down what's available under areas of interest. And then knowing at a glance, there's nothing specific that fits our need. So with that, we can go ahead and turn to our next section, which is our U.S. charitable section. Go ahead and open that right now. And actually, Kerry, why don't you walk us through this and how we use this area?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so here we are in the U.S. charitable database section. And so this database lists thousands of funder profiles. We have independent, family, community, and corporate foundations, corporate giving programs, faith-based grant makers, giving circles, associations that have grant making programs. And then we even have some that are just categorized as other sources. So the profiles are searchable by geographic scope, by areas of interest, types of support, by the funder's name, and even by keywords. So in the content area on the left here, you'll find a quick guide that'll help you through the search process. And then on the right-hand side is the navigation area where you can enter your search criteria. So under geographic scope on the right-hand side there, you can choose to search for global grant makers giving to US organizations, and that will increase our collection of options. But for now, let's start with clicking on Pennsylvania from our earlier search scenario. So that gives us 579. And then let's click on national grant makers to see how that changes the number. So that brings us to 2,180 results. As each criteria is added or subtracted, it will broaden or narrow the funding opportunities that are being displayed. This initial process here of choosing our geographic scope allows us to cast our search net as wide as possible, combining national opportunities with state-based ones to really see just how many funders might be able to support our need. And then once we start selecting other criteria, the results will begin to narrow to funding opportunities that are a more perfect fit for our needs. And if you want more information on how the search operates or the Boolean operator function, as Jeremy mentioned earlier, you can click on the Learn More in the upper right corner there, and that will give you a brief description. And so with that, I think we're ready to select our areas of interest from our earlier search scenario. And I believe that was animal welfare, which is under environment and animals, and the third click box there. Okay, so that narrows our results to 142. Let's say we want to narrow that a bit more and add another search criteria here. How about from types of support? And let's choose general operating, which I believe is right in the middle, since that's a pretty common type of support. And that narrows us to 42, which is a pretty good number to be working with. And if you want to narrow the search even more, we can remove national that we clicked earlier from the geographic search area by clicking the minus button alongside USA, and then focus on those funders that specifically give in Pennsylvania. So now we're left with 17 results. And I'd also like to point out the keyword search at the bottom of this page here. Well, that's a powerful way to narrow your searches. Say if you're looking for funding for a specific county or borough, we suggest that you exercise caution when using that so that you don't narrow your searches down too much. Remember that the keywords that you enter may not necessarily be the words that a funder would use.
So if we go ahead and scroll back up here again, let's go ahead and add national back in. You can see how easy it is just to simply click on and off various boxes to find search terms. And a quick note, you could save this search at any time by clicking Save Criteria. We'd enter in a name and then hit Save, and now it's saved to our dashboard. Then we could rerun the criteria in the future. Just to show you how that works, if you click that down button right here, we can actually name it, have specific searches that we rerun. So you could come in every month, run a search, see if anything new has been added that might have been missed from your project description worksheet that you created earlier. So looking at everything we've got here, let's go ahead and scroll down this list. And taking a look at how it's laid out, you can see we have geographic scope here and then application deadlines as well. So geographic scope, for instance, for the Adams County Community Foundation, give us primarily within Adams County. But if we hover over that, we know that means within specifically Pennsylvania. The American Fundraising Foundation gives across all of the U.S., but they specifically also give within Pennsylvania. So the USA, Pennsylvania is included as part of the USA. That's how it works. Animal Charity Evaluators goes across USA and global. You can see that's how this section works. Bank of America Philanthropic Solutions, they give in specific states. That's where this little eye is really handy. You can hover over it and see where specifically they give in, actually. But since we're focused on Pennsylvania, let's look at the Neil Martin Christensen Foundation. So this is what a profile looks like specifically. You can always save and unsave it from your dashboard. You can mark it as NA if it's not a good one for you. Then when you do searches in the future, you know not to look at this one. You can print the profile out, or you can email the profile to someone as well. Member insights is people who've worked with this organization before, take an anonymized little survey, and then that information becomes available to see what it was like working with this particular funder. Some of our funders do have this listing. Not all of them do, but if you are working with a funder, this is a quick way to share your insights, again, anonymized, so they can see what it was like dealing with this specific funder. So looking at this specific funder, we can see here on the left-hand side a breakdown of their areas of interest, which includes animal welfare, which is good for us, as well as social services and health. And they provide a specific type of support, project support, general support, building funds, and equipment. And the application procedure is right here where you can request them directly from the foundation. You can see their financial information here, what their annual giving is like, what the application information is, specific information about them, their EIN number. You can click this link to view more about their 990 form, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. Then you can see when this particular funder was last updated. So with this, I think it's a good time to talk about the next step in the process. Let's say this is a good fit for us. I went ahead and saved this to my dashboard. So this is on my dashboard now. Let's go back to the dashboard and go through all the other areas I sort of just touched on. So Kerry, if you could walk us through that, I will pull it up right now.
No problem. Okay, so here we are in the main dashboard section again. And so as we mentioned earlier, you can develop project descriptions. You can save your search criteria, you can save individual funders, and you can even track the status of your application process all through your own custom dashboard. So I'm going to have Jeremy pull up most of the sections in here so that you can get an idea of what to expect. So we went over the projects tab a bit earlier. So let's go to the saved criteria tab and have a look around in there. You can select some search criteria and then name and save your search. Once that's in your dashboard, you can click the name you gave it to rerun that search. So this allows you to remember the terms that were most effective in finding funders for your programs so that you can run that again in the future and see if there are any new opportunities available. Okay, so now let's go to the Saved Grant Makers tab right in the middle there. When you're looking at grant makers, when you're doing searches, you'll see that you can save a funder to your dashboard, either directly from your list of results or from the profile like Jeremy showed us earlier. So this tab here in your dashboard shows you all the grant makers that you've saved to your dashboard. You can see their name, the project you've assigned it to, the priority you've assigned it, their application deadlines, if they have any, and then any specific notes that you might need to make there. So you'll see something also called the decision matrix right in the middle there. The decision matrix is a tool that will help you prioritize your leads so that you're focusing on those with the likeliest possibility of success and hopefully the least amount of effort. The key is to figure out the potential return on the investment of writing a proposal and then managing the award. Jeremy, would you like to cover that a little bit?
Yeah, and right here is the Neil Martin Christensen Foundation that we found earlier. Actually came in earlier today and went through the decision matrix, but I'll show you how it works. Again, it's really straightforward. You have some mandatory criteria and scored criteria, and you have to answer yes to the two mandatory criteria before you can go forward. First of all, do you meet their eligibility requirements? Yes. Is the funding consistent with our mission? Yes. Okay, now we can move forward. If you answer no to either of them, it's not worth your time. This is all about saving you time and knowing at a glance what to do with a specific funder. This also helps if you have, I'm putting this in air quotes, helpful people around the office or around the virtual office who say, oh, here's a grant, you should apply for it. Rather than say, oh, another grant, fantastic, it doesn't even work for us. You can say, great, let me run it through the matrix. It'll take you maybe 3 to 5 minutes. Then you'll know at a glance if it's a good fit for you. So here under the scored criteria, we've broken it down into a couple of different sections. You basically use a favorability score. 3 is most favorable, 0 is least favorable. Are we giving the funders geographic area? Yes. Do we address their area of interest? Yes. Do we serve their target population? Not specifically, but they do mention helping people in Pennsylvania, so that works. Does the funder provide the type of support needed? Yes, they do. What's their credibility? We don't know them. Do we have subject matter? And I can go through all of these, but you can easily click on them to learn more about what this means if you're not sure. And as you go through the effort and timing section, how complex are their project evaluation requirements, you'll end up with a score. And that score, it lets you know what you should do. And let me pull this up one more time just so you can see that score breakdown. If it's over 31, get going on the applications. If it's between 16 and 30, these could be backup funders. And if it's a pretty low score, maybe you should drop them from your list. They're not worth your time. And again, GrantStation is about saving you time as you go forward. This is a very easy to use tool. It's tied directly to your dashboard, and you have access to it as you go about looking for funding. So yes, that's the decision matrix.
All right, thank you, Jeremy. So you can also add a grant maker to My Plan, which is an interface where you can plan out your application process for that specific grant maker. And let's have a look in that section right now. So
and here's the Neil Martin Christensen one, which I'll actually open up.
Okay. So the My Plan section is a list of those grant opportunities that you've saved for kind of a visual overview of the dates that you need to monitor so that you can stay on track of your grant application submissions. You can track the progress of each opportunity, which then allows you to take your research and move it into action. So here we are in one of the plans. We have the name of the funder, which was at the very top there. We have which project this funder fits, the priority of the application, the status, such as if you've submitted an LOI or the application's in progress or approved, the amount of the request. And then there are multiple date fields to help keep you on track when working on your applications. So think of the My Plan section as your grant central station, if you will, of keeping a visual look at the comings and goings of your grants. On the main My Plan page, you can export dates to your calendar software, or you can export all of the data as a CSV file for use in your favorite spreadsheet program. And you can export data from your various dashboard sections at any time as well. And just one quick note, we're always adding and incorporating members' feedback, so new features may appear in the dashboard at any time.
And one of those features we added here is filter by project. So let's say you have multiple projects, as I hope you would. You can actually pull up just the projects that have current funders. Maybe you're currently working on an annual project that's our animal welfare project. Then it will just pull up those specific funders that are associated with this specific project. Here's our Save the Chinchillas project, which I think, has 2 funders as well. And you can see that this is a really great way to stay organized and filter things out. And also you may be thinking, but Jeremy, I have a funder who's not in your database. What do I do? Well, you can add your own grant maker, and it allows you to track everything right through this interface. Again, it's just for you. No one else sees it. And you can use that as a tool to track your progress and where you are with that specific funder. So this is a great resource that comes to you as a part of your membership with GrantStation. Hopefully, if you are a current member, you are using your dashboard. I strongly encourage you because we built it to make it easy and fast. And some would even argue fun, although, I don't want to put too much of a sugarcoat on it. It makes it a lot easier. And that's our whole focus here at GrantStation, is to save you time and make things easier. And speaking of that, let's go back to searching. And in fact, let's go to our Save Criteria tab. And I'm going to go ahead and run this particular search right here, our product donation animal welfare one. If I click run, it'll just run that search. And you can see it's looking through the US and Pennsylvania. It's looking for animal welfare. And it's looking specifically for product donation terms. So this is a great way to use that, run that search. Don't have to go through and click the boxes. I don't think that's hard to click boxes, but this way it's even easier. Once you've found a group of criteria that works, reuse it. So now you can rerun that search. And as you can see right here, you can quickly pull up any search that you've saved in the past. So looking at these, we've got a couple that look interesting. This goes across USA and global. This goes across company communities. Well, here's our Purina corporate giving program. Purina actually does make dog food. So this might be a good option for us to look at. And it looks as though the product donation and disaster relief programs provide support throughout the US. Well, that's really great. I should look at this a little bit closer. I'll click on that particular profile. Then I'll open up the specific funder. You see, I've already saved this one. We can see what specific areas they give in. But as it was said before, right here under product donations, the company donates products to pet welfare organizations throughout the country. So even though Pennsylvania isn't specifically mentioned in my specific city, this is one that I could use to reach out to get more product donations. So this is a really powerful tool that we have, our US charitable section, and we've tried to make it as easy to use as possible. If you do have any concerns or questions, or maybe something you want to see in this, reach out to us, info@grantstation.com. We always incorporate member feedback, and we're always making changes. We've been doing this for more than 25 years. So we're very interested in reaching out and helping people find things faster. So if you think of anything that would make your life easier, let us know, info@grantstation.com. So if I go back to our search area, I'm going to go ahead and clear out this search. I want to show you some of the other areas you can search through here on GrantStation. In addition to our US-based grantmaker listings, we also have 3 other unique areas to search through. There's our international and Canadian charitable databases, along with our Canadian government sections. So our international database, which will open up right now, these are beneficial to US-based nonprofits that are doing work overseas. So say, for instance, you are addressing the issue of education in Nicaragua. Well, you'll start by choosing a specific continent. And again, we can start with Latin America. Then we'll go down and add in a specific nation at this point, and we'll click on Nicaragua. And then we can add in our specific area of interest. And all of our areas of interest do have a category, which is called general. And what that means is that the focus is on general education issues in this example, or on specific areas not listed. So if you're doing work in a given area and maybe there's only 1 or 2 funders that are specifically mentioning that and you're not finding them, using general is a good way to find out other ways of finding support for your specific need. So if we go ahead and click on education general, it'll pull up our results. Once we've got 30 results, we could narrow that down to just searching within Nicaragua if we wanted, by removing Latin America from the search. And that's how you use the search area, just like our US charitable section. In addition to international, we also have our Canadian charitable, and it functions just like the others. Let's say we're doing a specific thing in British Columbia, which is focused on, let's see, we'll also include national grant makers as well. And our specific area of interest here is we're doing something involving religion and ethics, and say we're focusing on philosophy. Well, clicking those links then pulls up the results. We have 2 specific results based on these. We can add more by removing specific areas of interest. And then if we want to have fewer results, we add in more specific areas of interest. So again, geographic scope allows you to choose how big your world is, and then everything else allows you to narrow it down to your perfect funder for your need. The last section I want to show you here is our Canadian government section. And this Canadian government grants and loans area provides listings of national and provincial departments and agencies that offer financial and technical assistance programs. Now you can find them available across all of Canada. Of course, British Columbia was our focus. We'll click on that one. And the exact same breakdown as the US states. We have grants, information, loans, and et cetera, broken down into those specific search term categories as well. So this is a way you can do your research. If you're in Canada and doing work within Canada, you can find it in the exact same way. So if I click the big logo that takes us back to our homepage, I'm going to go ahead and just close a couple of these boxes because I like having a clean desktop. And we'll jump back to the homepage of GrantStation. Now, even though we pride ourselves on leveling the playing field through easy to use, time-saving searches for funders that are actively engaged, we also offer lots of in-depth long-term guides for building your grants program. And that's where our build strategy section really comes in. Click on overview at this point. As part of secondary research, you'll want to research the grant maker and generate questions to ask, how to help determine if they're really the best fit for your project. The build section is all about how to build up to that and do that. You'll find articles explaining types of web research to do, how to use the IRS 990 form and how that fits into secondary research, how to deal with in-kind gifts, how to find time to do this, how to create, a grant seeking team, how to think strategically. All types of great articles are here that walk you through the process of trying to build your grant strategy. And we also have a great tool in this section, which I mentioned earlier, and that is our benchmarker. I'm going to go ahead and click on that right now. Now, the benchmarker is a collection of all the results that came from our state of grant seeking survey. And the way this works is it's a resource that can really strengthen your ability to secure grant awards by providing a realistic framework for your grant seeking plans and goals. And members use this report along with the R3, which I'll show you in a second, the Revenue Review and Report tool, to set grant program objectives, which really define how much to pursue and from which types of grant makers. It really lets you be selective and straightforward when you're looking for funding. And you can really start off by just answering 2 simple questions or do something more in depth to get a customized report, excuse me. And it's broken down into what's the age of your organization, what's your paid staff size, how much of your funding is from grants, what sources does your organization receive grant funding from. These are all the types of questions that you'd find in the state of grant seeking survey. And this benchmarker allows you to go through and compare where you are to other people. And from there, you can actually, and I'll jump into this now, the state of grant seeking report, which you can download, you can find key findings. For instance, the median largest award for non-government funders was $40,000 from our more than 1,000 people who've taken our survey. The median largest award from government funders was $218,000. And you can see what the average size is. You can see that applying for at least 3 grant awards increases their frequency of winning an award. Only 10% of organizations that submitted 3 to 5 applications won no awards. This is the information you can find in the state of grant seeking. You can download findings reports. It's a free report available to anyone. You can view the key findings charts. You can download the full report, as I mentioned. You can also then use the benchmarker to interact with this data. And if you like numbers, you like digging into what's happening in the world of philanthropy, this is the tool we built for you. And that's here in the benchmarker, which is a part of state of grant seeking surveys. So again, I recommend if you have a moment, go through and take our current survey, and allows us to provide this free information to everyone. But if we jump back to the benchmarker, I can move on to another tool, and that's the R3 that I mentioned earlier. So if I go ahead and go back one more page, I can go ahead and click on the R3. Now, this tool is very easy to use. All you really need is a copy of your budget, maybe about 5 to 10 minutes of time. You'll enter in specific grant projections or your current numbers that you have, where you're getting funding from, say local businesses or corporate giving programs, independent foundations or giving circles. And then you put in your non-grant revenue, how much is coming from individual gifts, how much is coming from special events, how much is coming from endowment income. And you can run just a current, you can run it just for projected, what's coming in next year, or you can run it combined. Now, I actually already filled out one of these, and I can pull it up on my dashboard really quickly. So I'll go into my dashboard and click on reports. I'm going to go ahead and view this combined one that I put together. I put in my specific numbers, and then I get a visual breakdown. This is really, really handy, especially if you're a visual learner. You can see how your total grant revenue is broken down. You can see how your projected revenue is broken down as well. Then you can see your current grant revenue and your projected grant revenue. Then you can see your non-grant and projected non-grant. And then most importantly, you get recommendations based on the numbers that you entered. These are sort of rules of thumb to keep in mind as you go about doing your research. And these change based on the numbers that you've put in. So for corporate giving programs, we suggest you explore funding from local businesses or corporate giving programs before approaching corporate foundations. Their support will provide credibility when applying to corporate foundations. It's almost like having someone look over where you're getting your money from and giving you recommendations. This is a tool that's a part of your membership here at GrantStation. It's included with your membership. There's no extra fee for this, but it's only available to members. This is a really powerful tool. Many people are unaware of it, and it's the R3. And I strongly encourage you to take a look at that if you're a member of GrantStation, just to see how useful it can be for you. Now, in addition to our build strategy section, we also have a whole nother area, which is about how to write proposals. So I'm going to go ahead and click on write proposal at this point. We'll go to our overview page for this. This is where you're going to find step-by-step tutorials that you can use to write a strong proposal from beginning to end, complete with examples templates, and resources. And as a member, you also have access to award winning grant proposals to read. It's a great idea to read successful grants to help you develop your proposal writing skill. And this is your place to find over 50 of them. And again, those articles I mentioned, how to get started, your IRS tax status, your budget, what's a letter of inquiry, how do I write a full grant proposal? This even has examples you can download if you need help with that for your statement of program, problem, or need, or your goals and objectives, or your plan of action. There's even a section on revising and how to revise your specific application that you're sending in. If you were denied, what are things to keep in mind regarding your streamlining your writing or your tone and style that you have? And in addition to all of these writing proposals and how to build your strategy and finding grant makers, we also offer online education. I'm going to jump into that right here. This is where you can really see all the different types of education available to you at GrantStation. Our webinars do not require GrantStation membership, but they're not included with your membership as well, but they are available at an affordable cost for individuals or groups to participate in. All attendees receive access to not only the webinar, but also a recording of the entire session, along with any of the presenter's notes as well. You can also purchase past webinars in case you've missed them and want to take advantage of all of our library of resources in that manner. Now, if you're looking for a quick dip into a subject, we have our Target Ed series. It's roughly a 30-minute webinar with 15 minutes of Q&A, and it covers a various topic. Right now, we have a very strong one going on about targeted AI and how to use AI for nonprofits, how to use it for writing proposals, how to use it for revising and editing, and it walks you through that entire process. We even have a workshop coming up, which is about how to get into AI, how to make your account, how to sign up, what's prompting. Is AI good for you? Is it a good thing to use? And the answer is yes. And it's just a tool like a hammer, but that's beyond the scope of today's webinar. But this is the kind of stuff that you can learn here in our online education section. We have articles on how to do strategic planning, how to, be a nonprofit consultant, how to use logic models, how to do a capital campaign, how do you craft a proposal to deal with substance use disorders. All types of topics are available, all within our online education section. And these are just our webinars. In addition to this, we also have recorded webinars, which are the ones we have available after they've taken place. But even more importantly, we have our on-demand learning. And within this section, we have a video series that walks you through the entire process of writing a grant, and that's called Turbocharge Your Grant Writing Skills. It's video-based, and you can go through them at your own pace. There's little quizzes and ideas of how to basically, get everything together and how to consistently write a winning grant proposal. But in addition to that, we also have the art of raising funds from local businesses, building your annual grant strategy, preparing to win, the golden key to successful statements of need. All of these are available in our online education section, and they're all a part of the online education experience here at GrantStation. Now, up next is our public resources section, and this is where you can find the Pathfinder, which I'm going to jump into here in just a second. And this is a freely accessible library that provides profiles on top quality resources in grant research, writing and management, as well as strategic planning. And the way it works is you simply choose a specific topic, and you can choose a specific format, and then you get the result. So let's say I'm looking for information about fundraising. Well, here's a whole bunch of results. As you can see, I've got about 521 results. I can narrow it down by entering in a specific search term, or I can narrow it down by only looking for a specific format. Like, well, I'm only looking for live webinars that are dealing with that specific topic. And these aren't necessarily offered just by GrantStation. They're offered all across the web. You can learn more about any of these by simply clicking on them. And of course, you can always save them to your dashboard and come back later and look at them in greater detail and use them as really part of the basis of growing yourself as a nonprofit professional. And this is a freely available resource that's available to you as simply a visitor to GrantStation, not even a member, but only members can save them to their dashboard. Also, as a part of our public resources, we have our newsletters, and that includes our GrantStation Insider, which goes out weekly, our monthly International Insider, and our monthly Canadian Insider. Each of these newsletters features 10 unique funding opportunities, along with a collection of various information. These are free to sign up for, these newsletters. Highly encourage you, if you are interested in any of these areas, as far as international giving or Canadian giving, or even just looking for a way to get quick notes about funding opportunities, signing up for the Insider is the best way to do that. And finally, we have our trend track section. And this is where you can find tracks of success. And that's a collection of feature articles that focus on a particular grant maker or a philanthropic trend. You can also find that link to the state of grant seeking and the benchmarker that I mentioned earlier. And of course, we have our GS Insights blog, and that features the thoughts and observations of our staff, our CEO, and various guest writers as well. So if I go ahead and close out of this and click on our logo, it takes us back to the homepage of GrantStation. And a thing to remember, though, is that as you're doing a search for funding for any kind of project, it's really important to identify the best grant makers to approach. And using GrantStation allows you to apply your time where it's most effective and efficient in your specific search for funding. Visit GrantStation to see our latest online education offerings in the form of live webinars, interactive workshops, and on-demand learning. GrantStation.com, your fast track to funding and online education.